Now let's go and start to detail a little bit of this sort of server room, sort of like an area where like the guy would go in and do some of his like work in here. So I can kind of see this structure being a little bit less crude and sort of less like mechanical feeling than we have for like our wall structure and stuff, where our walls can might be feel more or less machine oriented, where like eventually we'll have like tubes coming out of here and stuff, and it's built for purpose, and like all these different little purpose changes and stuff are like say needed. So here we can kind of keep it nice and clean and a little bit more of that, like that traditional sort of like hallway feel you see in like sci-fi based stuff. So I kind of wanted to get something with like a little bit of like repetition and stuff and feel a little bit more like it's made out of like panels, and then we can have like with some of the panels exposed or something with like tubes and like stuff like that. Just something where it's like nice and clean, but still has a little bit of that detail. So I'm kind of looking at stuff like these kind of like more simple forms. And then like say we could do something like this guy where it has like some nice surface changes and stuff. I don't really want to do stuff like this down there because it's like super high detailed and will not be the vibe I want for the composition as well. Here's some more pieces I've found that might be interesting to kind of play with around there. And these guys as well. So these are just like a bunch of like panels and stuff that you can like find pretty much anywhere in any of those kitbash places I was mentioning. So I think I might try to do something with this guy first. Let's see how that guy feels. So I'm just going to Control V in here, and then do the Shift S, and then just drag it into spot, and then Shift S to turn up. It might be super small, so I might have to come in and scale it way up. Everyone's using like a different scale to build their assets with. So if your thing is like way up to the side, you can try to go down into mesh axis and center axis too. Sometimes it'll frame up, sometimes it won't. If it won't, you can just click this little button here or L on your keyboard and then just move this pivot point just somewhere where it's a little bit more usable for you. So I'm just going to bring it down to there because I like to have the pivot point near the center and the base of the object. So now when I scale it, it's all scaling at the bottom there. So I'm just going to bring this in here. Bring it up to something like that. Scale it down a bit. I know where like my kind of cube is happening here, so I'm just going to delete that cube now. And then we can kind of focus on building some cool shapes here. So maybe it can like come up from the ground like that. That feels a little bit better. And I'm just going to take my door here. Let's just push it back a little bit. This guy, we can just like duplicate it down the line and see how it feels when there's like a few of them. And that's just control and dragging it out. And then going back. And you can see, so we're building a little bit of like repetition. It helps guide our eyes into the scene, whereas if it was like a bunch of garbled up details, your eyes don't really have that movement. And actually, I think I'm going to slide them back a little bit more. And then we'll have like a little bit of overhang, and then maybe overhang it a little bit more after that. Or do something with like this space here might be kind of cool, where it's like kind of goes in, and then we have like some tubes coming like out of there and like wires and stuff. So I kind of want to bring out another one over here onto the other side. Just kind of butt that up there. Then I'm going to grab all these guys and then just kind of shift them down a bit. And let's see how that feels. Say something like that should work pretty good. We don't really need that third one here, so let's kill that. And then our walkway here, I'm just going to temporarily widen this guy for now. Just so I can see how it feels with like the walkway going into there. So I'm just going to quickly move like these upper bits. This guy keeps getting in the way. So actually I'm just going to hide just this guy. There we go, and I can move around without getting clotheslined by that thing. So I just need to like figure out something for like above this door. I'm going to take a look at some pieces. So this guy might actually work well. Control C, Control V. Shift S so to snap it, and then we'll move it into place. And then Shift S to turn off snapping. Let's rotate that 90. Something like that might be okay. We could add like a little bit more detail later on, as well as I think overlay something on top of here to sort of like cap everything off at a certain height. So we got that. Let's go and find some pieces for up here. And I think we can kind of come back into these pieces and see if there's any like mechanical bits that might work well. Something like that might be kind of cool. I was kind of looking for like some just interesting shapes. So yeah, let's try this guy. So what I'm going to do is I need to bring out my object window, sorry. Then we can click S to frame that guy. But I'm going to like control drag and drop it out there. And then do the Shift S to bring this guy over here, and then Shift S to turn that off. So with pieces like this, we can do something where we can like try to like scale it up really big. Just want to rotate that. Maybe we can like find some sort of cool shape here. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we can sort of support it with a little bit of smaller details in here. Maybe do some tubes that like come out and then come up or something. But what I think I want to do is take this whole sort of unit here and just slide it back a little bit just to help the composition a little bit. So I'm going to grab all those guys and then control click all those pieces. Go into my camera view. I just want to slide them back a little bit there. Just because I want to see a little bit more of this background stuff here. And a lot of this will be repetitive, so we don't really have to show too much of it. Something like that. And then we can sort of come in here and maybe make this area a little bit wider, then have like a cool little computer system area in there. All right, let's continue detailing out our little server room here. I just kind of deleted like the cube and stuff just because it was kind of getting in the way. Looking at this, it might be a little bit too busy and take away from some of this. So I kind of wanted to smooth out some of these details here. So I was kind of thinking of bringing in something like this guy, just as like a big blocky form that we can use as like a base. So I was going to bring that in here. Sometimes you might get this pop-up if you bring in some kitbash pieces that have materials on them. We don't really need any of the textures in there, so I'm just going to click no. It might populate some stuff here. We can just clean that up after. I'm just going to drag that into my server room group there. And let's just move this guy into place here. Let's scaling him up. Maybe we can keep 2 of those guys and then like get rid of like these other 2. I kind of like how this guy has like these sort of like raw detailings that kind of come in and then back. It'll make it look pretty cool once we have like this sort of like negative space here and we have like some like other like tubes and stuff coming down here. We can take like booleans and start to cut out some of these shapes to allow like the tubes and stuff to sort of have some breathing room to be able to do that. But for now, like having like this big blocky form like this will help smooth out this area a little bit, but still have some of these like plane shift forms that we're looking for like more of that overlap. I'm just going to delete this second guy here. Maybe we can keep these guys up there. You see sort of replacing these guys with this simpler form makes the scene feel a little bit better because it doesn't have like all those little tiny details that aren't really adding to the scene. They're almost taking away because you're pulling the focus over here and we don't want that. So I kind of like that as like a basic shape, and then maybe we can add like a little bit of something here, maybe some text or something. And then I do like the idea of like taking a boolean and like start to cut out some of the shape so we can do is like some tubes coming down into here. But that'll be like decent enough for a little bit of a base for us there. Maybe we can see if we can cut this hard corner out and have it more of this beveled edge. So let's just go into here, see what we can kind of cut out. I'm just going to grab my rectangular selection, my marquee tool kind of thing. Shift select for that. I'm actually going to control click that. Then we can just slide that whole thing back. Maybe grab this one, slide it forward. And this helps break up that form there. Start getting a little bit more of an interesting shape there. So next, let's continue with that space up that was up above it. And for that, I'll probably just grab like one of these simple guys here. This guy will probably work. It's got like some details that we can use on the edge there. I'm going to group these together and then control, click, and drag out into my server room group. Let's rotate it like that. But maybe we can see some of like these little antenna pieces that are sticking out. Make it nice and wide. So I don't quite like that. How is this like another sort of straight edge? Maybe we can play with rotating it. I'm just going to quickly add a new panel and then dock it. You see it's like sometimes there's textures. With these heavier scenes, it's almost always good to just have the materials turned off, because once you start loading in a bunch of stuff, all those materials and textures loading can sometimes just lag a scene out and cause it to freeze and crash. I'll save, by the way, just so that doesn't happen. And then, yeah, just do a little bit of like rotation there. So now we're getting some cool plane shifts. Let me kind of check it out with the big version here. And I don't like these detail here. It might just pull too much attention, so I just delete that for now. And then we'll add a little bit more back that help guide our scene a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just add like a little bit more stuff around this area. It'll be more the same, just kind of selecting the Kitbash pieces and placing them. I'm not going to do too much to break up the forms yet. Now we're starting to just establish what those block and shapes represent. So I just did like a little bit of poking around. I didn't want to do too much detail here. It was just more adjusting some stuff so it feels right and just doing some stuff to blend it together. I also added some elements like down below just to help ground like the structure here. And I kind of went through, just like added this little thing because I thought it was kind of cool. This little like canister thing helped give detail like by the door here, as you can see. As well as I added in this sort of door frame piece here and duplicated it a few times along here, just so you can kind of get a little bit of this cool like repetition. So this frame actually came from a different piece, and that's just like kind of like the start of using like these Kitbash pieces to create other elements with them. So you can see how it's kind of short and stubby, so I went in and I scaled it up a little bit, but I mostly went into like points mode and kind of grabbed some of the points and then sort of adjusted it like that to where I needed to. And that's how you can start to use some more of like these pre-built pieces to customize them to fit what you need, rather than building scenes just completely based on these elements. And another thing I did was just kind of grab the tops of these things and just like stretch them way back, so that once we're in this view, you can kind of see how it's like cuts way back in there, and then we can start doing some cool elements coming out of there. And another thing was just adding a little bit more of the flooring in, so we're not seeing through the areas where I don't want there to be holes. And I'll keep it pretty basic for now. I think most of the detail will just be the addition of the piping and like maybe some like lettering and stuff like that. Some like caution stripes and stuff.
All right, now that we have a bunch of our walls replaced with our kitbashing assets and our scene scale established, in the next lesson, we can start to model out our walkways.